Welcome to another day of Bosa Watch as we put our ear to the ground and we try to figure out what is happening with Nick Bosa, the San Francisco 49ers, and the ongoing contract negotiations that are never ending at this point. And what we're going to try to discuss is because we got another update from Ian Rappaport today as 49ers report for the official week one practice of the year on a Wednesday. This is what the practice schedule looks like with having practice on Wednesday. It's typically how it works. And Nick Bosa is not there. So we're going to talk about Ian Rappaport's reports. We're going to talk about kind of the leaks that have been making their way to the media. As it's been discussed, there would be no leaks, right? So we're going to be talking about the information that's getting out clearly. And we're going to talk about drop dead situations of when this has got to get done so that Nick can play week one. Or is it too late? Is it too late? Have we already missed our window for Nick Bosa and week one against the Steelers? This is going to be a reaction show again, just reacting to the ongoing. I'm calling it a debacle at this point. Again, doesn't mean it still can't get done, but it definitely is starting to feel like it deserves the debacle calling because, as we've heard, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan have all discussed that this was something that they've planned for, they've budgeted, they've expected, but I don't think they've planned for this. I don't think they budgeted for this. So we're going to react to it all right after this. You guys already know what to do. Smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube. Hey, even if you're watching on Facebook as well or Twitch. And let's drop a SDS in the chat. Let's start off today with some good vibes, even though the conversation isn't the best. Let's start off with some good vibes. Drop some SDSs in the chat, showing love to the sourdough squad. And we're gonna attack this ongoing situation with what we have regarding Nick Bosa, the San Francisco 49ers, and what it all means. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Shout out to the gang. Good to see the SDS dropping in. I appreciate you guys, man. I'm sure you've seen, if you're on YouTube, you've seen my thumbnail. It's basically the Will Smith meme when he's in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when all the furniture's out and he's in the house and he's just standing there and it's just him and there's no one else. And we're just like, that's kind of like what Nick Bosa is right now. SDS kind of scared though. Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like we're in this really interesting window of a deal can still get done and there's still a percentage chance that Nick Bosa can play, but we are so close. We are so close to it being over, to like getting to that breakdown where we can say Nick Bosa will not play week one, and that is scary. I've seen the comments. There's definitely mixed reactions to this situation. As you know, in all these types of hard negotiations within a fan base, fans are either going to support the player or they're going to support the team. That's just typically how it goes. Obviously, I've said it and I'll say it again. I'm pro player. I'm a big proponent of advocating for the players, and I understand where Nick is coming from and what they're trying to accomplish. And so, but there's also another side. The other side is you're not above the team, you're not above the logo, And you have some one fan commented on a video that I posted today on YouTube of basically the Nick Bosa update, which we'll get into more detail on. But he said, I hope that the 49ers trade Nick Bosa and he tears both ACLs. Like, that's the point that we're at, right? That's the point we're at with this situation from a fan perspective. Obviously, you're going to get different reactions and different opinions from everyone, but that's wild to me. Like, that's really wild. Some of the takes that people are having in regards to this situation, but that also, again, I think paints the picture of where we are at with this negotiation, is that people aren't operating in good faith anymore. They are nervous. They're worried because if you have been a fan of this team and you have followed this team under the Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch regime, you understand how these years have gone. You understand in 2021, I talked to Mohamed Sanu, who was on the roster that year, when the 49ers won 2 straight. They beat Detroit on the road. They beat Philadelphia on the road, and then they lost 4 in a row. And then heading into Chicago in like week 8, and I confirmed this with a player on the team, it was playoff time. By week 8, they had to click into a different gear mentally because they understood if they lost enough games, they weren't going to make the playoffs. And if you remember in that 2021 year, they needed help. They needed the Dolphins to beat the Saints in order to get into the playoffs, if you recall that. And shout out to the Dolphins. They beat the Saints. That helped the 49ers get into the playoffs. You needed a Trey Lance start against the Texans. You needed a win. And then you needed to beat the Rams in the very last game of the year in order to get in the playoffs. And, from a player's perspective, from week 8 on, they were in playoff mode. We don't want that this year because we want home field advantage. We want to be able to have the road to the Super Bowl go through Santa Clara because, as we know, if you are a 49er fan located in the Bay Area, or if you've been to a game in Santa Clara, since 2019, Levi Stadium has come alive. And it is really, really hard to win games in Santa Clara. The fan base is, you can feel the fan base, you can feel the energy, and it really helps the outcome of the game. Just like when I went all the way to Philly this past year for the NFC Championship game, I could feel their energy. I could feel that stadium's energy. And guess what? You want to know a perfect example of how home field advantage can dictate a game? You want to know? I'll tell you right now. Do you remember? And I'm not trying to bring up PTSD, but I'm just trying to exemplify the point of how important it is to start fast and win early so that you can have home field. This is a playoff team. This is a championship caliber team, right? We all agree with that. So, perfect example of why home field advantage matters and why it can change the outcomes of games. Being in that stadium in Philadelphia for the NFC Championship game, y'all remember? Do you guys remember that pass on 4th down to Devonta Smith that looked like a phenomenal one-handed catch? But after replay, it was in fact a dropped pass that led to a opening drive touchdown, which shifted momentum from the very first drive. Do you guys remember that play? Again, not trying to invoke or trigger your PTSD from that game, but to hit home the point of home field advantage. Being in that stadium, they did not play one replay. Shout out to their video person. They did not play one replay, and they ran to the line and they hiked it. If you were in that stadium and you didn't have access to replay, it looked like a catch. They didn't play the replay because they knew. If you were at the San Francisco 49ers stadium, guess what the replay operator and the board operator would be doing? They would be zooming in right away, boom, put it up on the board, and they would show the replay. And guess what? Maybe Kyle Shanahan then throws the red flag, and they review it, turnover on downs. That is a difference in home field advantage. So again, not trying to bring up PTSD, but home field advantage matters, and that's why we want to get started hot. And to start hot, you want your best player on the field. And right now, the San Francisco 49ers are seriously in danger of losing out on one of their best players for week 1. Now, I also want to tell you why it's not officially over yet. Nick Bosa can still play on Sunday. So I'm trying to temper also my worry, my panic meter, because I am panicked. I don't like this situation. As a fan, I don't like this situation. I don't like where it's at. I don't like it, right? It's a distraction. And it's again involving one of the best players. So, and we have actually a phenomenal example recently of what the Steelers did with TJ Watt. TJ Watt didn't get paid until 2 days before the game, which 2 days before this game on Saturday or on Sunday would be Friday. So to me, that's where my hard deadline is. If he gets paid on Saturday, maybe there's a chance he can play. I don't know. I believe he's in Florida right now. I don't know. And yes, TJ Watt was a hold in. And the difference between a hold in and a hold out is that he was in training camp. And he was there. He was practicing. So there is a little bit of a difference. There's a big difference between a hold out and a hold in. But also, as we keep talking about, Nick Bosa is one of those rare people where he could probably roll out of bed and have a 3-sack game. So I'm less concerned about that. But what I do believe is we're not completely in full-blown, damn, Nick Bosa's not playing this Sunday. We're close. We're really close. And I think that's where you're starting to sense the emotions ratchet up of the fan base. You're starting to sense like this is getting serious, right? We're getting to that point where it's like, oh, we might not have Nick Bosa. And that's what Ian Rappaport tweeted today and talked about today based on where they're currently at. And this is the information that we have in regards to the Nick Bosa situation from, I'm going to go ahead and say Ian Rappaport so far. Clearly, Ian is getting fed information. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, or at least I would say John Lynch, spoke to the media discussing that they have a gentleman's agreement that they are not going to divulge any information to the media. Well, I believe that has broken down. I do believe they are negotiating now through the media. I do believe that is happening because there is no way for the Deanna Rossinis, the Ian Rappaports to be putting out this info if it is not being fed to them by an agent or by a front office representative. So as it stands right now, this is what we know from Ian Rappaport. Deals have been made. Deals are on the table. Bosa, the San Francisco 49ers have made a deal. They have made an offer. Who knows? Maybe multiple, right? So, but we have a dollar amount. We have a figure, actually. We can actually assign a dollar amount to the contract that was presented to Nick Bosa, which again, that tells me that's a leak. That's someone gave him that. He's not. I know a lot of people don't like Ian, or they have a problem with national media and things like that, and I totally understand that. But I personally believe that a guy like Ian will not go out and put that out without actually having valid information. So what Ian is telling us is that there is a contract on the table that is in the range of 30 million per year on average, right? What we've heard all along, spinning wheel of death. All we've heard all along is that Nick Bosa wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback, which is surpassing Aaron Donald's 31 per year on average. So to me, that sounds close, right? Okay, if they're at 30 and he wants to get above 31, that sounds close, right? That sounds like, hey, that's not too far off. That's maybe we can bridge that gap over the next couple days, right? But that's not the only hurdle. There's more hurdles, such as what is the guaranteed money? Because as you guys know, when these contracts drop, they're always going to be like 5 years, 275 million. But what you'll always hear is, what are the guarantees? Because the guarantees truly are the like meat of these contracts, because the guarantees are the guarantees. And you guys know what guarantees mean. That means Nick Bosa is getting that money regardless of anything that happens. So those are the things that you really got to pay attention to in deals of this magnitude, is what is the guaranteed money, right? So what is the guaranteed? What is the language? There are multiple levels. We've discussed this in the past on previous lives. There's 3 levels that I think they've got to work through and get done. Guarantees, per year average, and language. That's it. I already assume this is going to be 5-year plus. Could be 5, could be 6, could be 7 if they need to spread out the cap. I don't know. But I'd assume it's going to be a 5-year. I assume it's going to be above 31 years on average. And the guaranteed money is going to be high, right? It's going to be in the it's got to be more than TJ Watt, got to be more than Aaron Donald. So that's the way I see it. Because if we look at TJ Watt's number, he signed a 4-year, $112 million contract that included 35.5 million signing bonus with 80 million guaranteed, and with an annual salary of 28. So I would imagine that Nick Bosa is looking in the range of over 100 mil guaranteed. So that could be the sticking point. It maybe we're focusing on the semantics, uh the semantics of, you know, being the highest paid and being able to say that, but I think it really comes down to, what's that guaranteed money looking like? You know what I'm saying? Like from Jerry Maguire, it's basically like, show me the money, because that's the real money, the guarantees. That's where that's at. So if TJ Watt's getting 80 over 4, you know, let's extrapolate it over 5 years. Minimum, it's got to be 100, right? But realistically, are we talking 120 guaranteed? So that could be the sticking point of what the guarantees are, you know, in this situation. Ultimately, when it's all said and done, like, again, we could go back and forth and speculate over what we think the contract is and what the specifics are. We don't know. We really don't. And we don't know what Bosa's asking for. We don't know what the 49ers are truly offering. So that puts us at a disadvantage as, people who are reacting, people who are analyzing, people who are trying to make sense of all this, is that we don't have the information. So all we can do is speculate, and we can take what's presented to us, and we can look and see that, okay, the 49ers have practice today and Nick Bosa isn't there. And the 49ers have a game on Sunday, and that officially puts Nick Bosa's availability in doubt. And as I've discussed, the 49ers want to win football games early, and they want to start hot, and they start on the road. 2 games on the road to start their season. So let's see. Let's see what it's going to be. And so right now we have to see what the I highly disagree with this one. Your boy needs a nap. So I highly disagree with this one. But it's a situation that we gotta pay attention to. Every day now it's a new day. The meter changes every single day, which is why we are reacting to what Ian Rappaport is saying, and everything that we got cooking. So the thing is, it's like we still have a chance to get this thing done. We still have an opportunity to get Nick Bosa paid, and we will. And the second that happens, all this drama, all this stuff, we move beyond it and we focus on week 1. But unfortunately, we're stuck in this vortex of constantly reacting to each one of these individual situations. So it's a situation where I agree. I think a lot of people are like Charles right now, me included. I've been tired of talking about this Nick Bosa situation. I've been tired of talking about this for now 2 weeks. I think we're going on 2 weeks now. And I think that's where the entire fan base is. I could probably wager a bet that the 49ers locker room is in that same category, because I think as we stand today, media is back in the building. Not only is media back in the building, but they should be talking to Kyle Shanahan today. So what is Kyle going to say about this? Right? What is his response going to be? Because I found it to be interesting listening to Chris Sims talk about this. And as we know, Chris Sims, Kyle Shanahan, best friends. They talk all the time, and he referenced a conversation that he had with Kyle about this, and about how, like, they totally anticipated Nick Bosa not to show up to training camp. And he was like, yeah, that, like, basically speaking for Kyle, saying like Kyle was absolutely fine with that. Like, he's actually like, yeah, this is actually great. No chance he's going to get hurt in training camp. He's going to be fine. We're going to get him back after preseason. And what Chris Sims basically said was he believes that has changed. He doesn't believe anymore that it's a situation where he's like, yeah, it's fine. He believes that internally, Kyle and these guys who rely on Nick Bosa to help win football games, um, is going to be something that is going to be a pressing matter internally. So we're going to hear from Kyle today. So from my understanding, so I'm excited to see what Kyle has to say. And I feel bad for the players, because guess what's going to happen to those guys who have to speak to the media? What do you think the number one question is going to be directed at them? What are they going to be talking about? What are they going to ask them about? They're going to ask them about Nick Bosa. So again, it's a distraction. No one wants to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. I want to talk about week 1. I want to talk about the optimism that we have for the season, but this is our reality. And we had some information come out today, and we are reacting to it. And every day, something changes. So it's the unfortunate fact of the matter is that's what we do here. So until Bosa gets paid, once he gets paid, we'll never talk about this again. I mean, we might bring it up on occasion if it needs to be brought up. But once he gets paid, we're on to Pittsburgh. That's where we're at. We're on to Pittsburgh. Angelo says, do you think this dispute is more to blame on the front office or on Bosa, his agent, and even possibly his dad? This sours my view on him. Again, I think because it's pure speculation, we don't know. But I would have to say, I'm sure both parties are responsible, whether it's the 49ers, whether it's Nick Bosa and his camp. I'm sure they absolutely both hold responsibility in this situation. But without knowing the ask, without knowing the details, it's really hard to truly speculate who's involved and who's at fault. So we'll see. I don't know. Obviously, Parag has a bit of a reputation with being a difficult negotiator. George Kittle's negotiation wasn't easy. Clearly, they really didn't even get to negotiate with DeForest Buckner. So Trent Williams to get paid, it took Trent Williams calling Kyle Shanahan to be like, "Hey, I'm about to sign with the Chiefs. You either pay me, or I'm gonna go block for Patrick Mahomes' blindside." Right? So it's like he's proven to be a tough negotiator. You even had Frank Gore talk about it. Frank Gore talked about because he sat in the conversations, and Frank Gore was like, talked about how angry he was, how upsetting the conversations were, how just not good it is to sit in on a contract negotiation, because basically the way Frank Gore talked about it is that they basically pull every negative against you and they use it to justify not paying you. So they basically highlight all your negatives, which could be injury, which could be whatever. And they kick it back at you to be like, this is why we are justifying what our offer is. So listen, I can't say definitively because I'm not in those rooms. I'm not in those conversations. I don't have firsthand experience, but based on what I've heard, based on the way these situations have played out, it does sound like it could be pretty difficult to work. Not difficult, but challenging. Oh, I think that's a better word. Challenging. Prague is a very challenging negotiator. And again, like a lot of the times they get the deal done, right? They got Trent paid, but there's still challenges that are presented, and that's tough. That's tough. So it's like, who are we to really sour on? And that's why, like, I'm not quite ready to sour on anyone. Like, I'm not even ready to sour on, Parag or the 49ers, because I am, like I've said, I'm a player advocate always. I want the player to get paid. I want the player, and that's a different ideology than putting yourself in a front office perspective. If you have a front office perspective, you're going to say, we're going to try to save every possible dollar that we can, and we're going to put any type of offsetting language as we can. It's just a different thought process. It's a different ideology. Players are going to fight for everything they want, and vice versa. The organization is going to fight for everything that they want, and those That's why it's called a negotiation, and that's why we're probably where we're at. So I'm not ready to sour on anyone because there's still an opportunity to get him paid. I'm frustrated by the situation. I think I've made that abundantly clear. I'm frustrated. I don't like the distraction. Obviously, the fan base is losing it. You could see some people in the chat. They're just like beside themselves, don't know how to process this situation to the point where they're ready to trade their best player because they perceive it as him slanting the organization when in reality, all Bosa is doing is looking out for his best interest, which is what any player should do in an environment that is as cutthroat as the NFL that requires physical harm to your body and all that type of stuff. So it goes both ways. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm not ready to sour on anyone until I know what's going on. I'm frustrated. I think that's the thing. It's like, I think that's valid. Frustrated, pissed, as Charles said, that's fine. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. But at the same time, we don't know. We don't know the situation. We don't know what Bosa's asking. We don't know what the 49ers are offering. So it's hard for me to pick a side, right? And like I've said, I am a 49er fan. Look at behind. I got a Bosa jersey right here. Bosa. That's a signed Bosa helmet. I got another signed Bosa jersey over here that you can't really see. Like, I like Bosa. I'm big on the player. Big on the player. Always have been, always will be. But it's a situation where we got to figure it out, and we got to see what it is. So, and like what Flores is saying, no players above the team. That's fine, but you also don't have championships without the players. It goes both ways. No players above the team. You don't have championships without players. So, again, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. And then you have the people who say it's not a big deal. What are we tripping about? Not a big deal. And this is a big deal. This is absolutely a big deal. The 49ers have told you this is a big deal. So again, I don't think that's accurate either. How can you say this isn't a big deal? The 49ers are telling you this is a big deal. John Lynch is telling you, I don't like this. Players could always be replaced. How often do generational players come along? How long did it take the 49ers to replace Olden Smith? It took until getting Nick Bosa at the number 2 overall pick. How often are the 49ers going to be picking number 2 overall? Again, I don't agree with that. I think that's a fundamentally flawed logic that you can replace a generational talent at the age of who's 25 years old in the prime of his career and be like, oh yeah, we can replace him. With who? Who are you replacing him with? You're talking about the reigning defensive player of the year? There's like 6 or 7 players kind of that are in the tier or around the tier of Nick Bosa, and then there's a significant drop off. These players don't grow on trees. And the problem becomes well, who's on the other side of Nick Bosa already? It's Clellan Ferrell and Drake Jackson. Drake Jackson is unproven. Cleveland is a quality player, but he's not a premier player at all. To me, Cleveland is quality. He's quality. Oh, we're gonna get Spicy Aponte on. We got State of the Franchise today at 1:45. We're also doing our best ball draft, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna have Spicy Aponte on. Interested to see how he feels about this. I feel like we're gonna get a level-headed take from Aponte, um, but we'll see. We'll see if he's spicy about this. We'll see if he's spicy about this. Um, I agree with this from 559. It's hard to be mad at either side when we don't know the numbers. What if he's asking for something unreasonable, 35 a year? Then what would you think of the organization? And again, I agree. That changes the dynamic of the conversation. Because if Bosa is asking for something that does feel unreasonable, like, for example, is Bosa asking for 40 million a year? I would then be like, whoa, that is unreasonable, right? Like that, if the currently highest paid non-quarterback is sitting at 31 and you're asking for 40, that to me is unreasonable. So that's why it's really hard to assign blame, assign fault, because we just don't know. We just don't know. We can assume, we can do our best to connect the dots, but at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we don't know. We can be frustrated, we can be angered by the situation, but at the end of the day, who do you direct that anger at? Who do you direct that frustration at? I got a little frustrated. I got a little spicy yesterday because I haven't slept very much. And I was like legitimately tired on stream yesterday, and I kind of got a little spicy. I got a little frustrated because the situation is frustrating. And as you guys know, I interact with tons of fans on the daily, and it can be frustrating. I got a little triggered, thinking about some of the old days of trading defo and all that type of stuff. So I got a little spicy, but at the same time, you know, being able to take a step back, think about it, like it's hard to assign any type of blame right now just because we don't really know. You like that, Steph? I had to I had to pay homage to Fresh Prince of Bel Air with that one. Yeah, I need a nap. I need like a solid 14 hours sleep. That's what I need. The big boy needs some shut eye. Uh, Angelo says, "How valuable do you think Bosa's expertise is when it comes to sharing his techniques, mentality, workout methods, etc., with other teammates?" Oh, I think it's huge, dude. I think it's huge. I think one of the people who you could make an argument, who kind of probably felt the impact of Bosa not being there the most is Colton McKivitz. I think that I think that to be true. And again, speaking from personal experience, I got to play against some really good players when I played college ball. I played in DVC at DVC, um, and in the North Bay, I played in the E-ball. So in E-ball, you got Monta Vista, De La Salle's now in E-ball, Foothill, San Ramon, Cal High. A lot of NFL players have come out of these schools. And so like I played against Zach Ertz in high school and all those types of things. And so like when Zach Ertz was on Monta Vista, this defensive tackle that was my teammate at DVC was the best player on Monta Vista's team. And that was with Zach Ertz on the team. And so, again, sometimes when you end up at a community college, it's not because you're bad, it's just because you don't have grades. And with this guy in particular, he just didn't have grades. He was being recruited as a D1 prospect. He would have been an NFL player, I guarantee it. He was just wired and built differently. The point of the story is I was I was pretty damn mid coming out of high school. But because I was able to practice every single day against this guy, and I competed with this guy every single day, I mean, when I constantly cook me. But after my first year, oh, I started to win. Oh, okay, I started to beat him. Okay, I started to I was able to match my level of play, and that's the whole point of what I'm talking about with Colton McKivitz, is like that's why I think he might have been one of the guy with the biggest disadvantage. Um, because Colton would have had an opportunity to be able to practice against Nick Bosa every single day, and he would have been able to work on his technique. He would be able to basically, again, iron sharpens iron. He would be able to match his level of play against the best defensive lineman in the NFL. So that's who I would say takes a big hit. Is obviously these guys in the defensive line room, you know, Drake Jackson had an entire year under Bosa, so he's already soaked up a ton of game, right, from Drake, or from Bosa. I would say it was like guys like Colton McKivitz that that hurts a little bit of not being able to get that work because and Colton's gone up against Bosa a lot. Trent Williams does not practice, and Colton McKivitz is the next guy up. So they have practiced a ton before in the past, but that's a guy that I would look at and be like, he would have benefited the most from going up against Nick Bosa in training camp. So, um, we'll see. We'll see what it is, man. I'm still holding out some hope that this thing is done. But again, when you got, and this is also what I think. I think we got some chess being played, some 4D chess being played through the media. When Ian Rappaport says he's Nick Bosa's like officially in doubt, right, for playing this Sunday, what does that do? It sends a bit of a jolt through the fan base, right? It sends a jolt through the media and through public perception, and we're talking about it. We're like, oh God, is Nick Bosa really, really not gonna play? So it kind of kicks the pressure back onto Bosa, his representation. Again, it feels like we got some jockeying right now. We got some jockeying in the media to kind of push the leverage over the top. So we'll see. And also, I will say this. I'm a firm believer that deadlines, especially in the NFL, are what motivate literally everything to get done. So with that in mind, if we're talking about Friday potentially being a true deadline, right? Okay, we don't need Nick Bosa to practice, right? We don't need him to practice. Would we want him to practice? Of course. Do we want him out there? Absolutely. But does he need to? No, he doesn't. Like we've talked about, Nick Bosa is one of the rare players in the NFL who can roll out of bed and get 3 sacks in an NFL game. So that to me puts the true deadline on Friday to Saturday, right? So this is the thing. You hear reports like they're 95% done or they're closing in. Everything in the NFL gets done in that last leg. Everything is finalized right up until that final tick before the deadline hits. So, if Friday or Saturday is our true deadline, we have a couple days for things to dramatically change. So, I'm panicked, I'm worried, but there is a little bit of hope left. I still have some hope that Bosa will be on that field week 1. Again, it's not a ton of hope. It's a little hope. And the idea is, right, that within these next couple days, because if the 49ers want him there and he wants to be there, then if they both have that motivation, then as this gap gets closer and closer before the inevitable hits and he can't play, that might push them towards an agreement. So we're going to find out. We are going to find out. So what do the 49ers do, though, if they can't budge? What do the 49ers do if they're just at an impasse? And that's a scenario. Do you trade Nick Bosa? Do you trade him? Would the 49ers do that? Do you think? Putting yourself in a general manager, front office role, keeping in mind you have a locker room to uphold. You have a fan. I mean, honestly, they don't care about the fans, but you have they do care about the locker room. That's a captain. That's a lead. He's not a rah-rah leader. He is a lead by example type guy. Aaron says they let go of Buckner, and guess what they did? They signed Javon Hargrave by basically admitting we made a mistake by trading Buckner. They effectively said, yeah, we thought we could trade Buckner, draft Kinlaw, everything would be fine. No, it wasn't. So what did they do? They signed Javon Hargrave to almost the exact same deal. So, do you believe that a franchise that already tried that, they already tried to do that. They already tried that with a cornerstone player. Do you think they do it again? Or do you think they learned from that situation? Again, if you're in that front office, this also, I would have to say, has to be I think Jed would have to be involved in this. What does Jed do? Does Jed greenlight this? Does Jed greenlight a trade of Nick Bosa? Again, I don't think there's any way you can even think about a trade unless you get at minimum one impact edge. Like you're basically swapping. Like you got to get an edge. Like there's no way that you can even pick up the phone and entertain anything unless you're getting an impact edge in return plus more. Impact edge plus more. plus picks, plus additional players. Like, it has to be someone has to overpay to get Nick Bosa. Is someone willing to overpay? Because if you had these trade charts and these values and whatever, say there's a system that these GMs operate of trade value, trade charts, you have to overpay. There's the value, and then there's overpaying. You have to overpay to get Nick Bosa to even have a shot at a conversation at Nick Bosa. So what does that look like? Brian Burns wants $28 million a year. Do you pick up the phone for Brian Burns, JC Horn, and a first round pick? Do you listen to that? I don't know. Because again, it's much deeper than the NFL is weird because it is transactional, but it's also deeper than that. It's also deeper than that. So, does that move the needle for the 49ers? I don't know. I love Brian Burns. I don't know if that moves the needle for me. I love Brian Burns, but at the expense of Bosa, I don't know. I don't know. Michael says, if they are dumb and trade Bosa, what does the package look like? As we were just kind of talking about. Shout out to Michael. Sorry for not getting this up. That would have been a perfect. Basically what we were talking about. It, like I said, it would take an overpay. It would take an big time overpay for the 49ers to even like consider it. So I don't love the situation that we're in. I don't like talking about this. You know what I mean? Like this is kind of how I got triggered yesterday. It was like putting myself to like in the position to like actually think about trading Nick Bosa. Like it brought up some old emotions that I didn't know I had. No, I did know I had that I pushed down. But again, I don't think it makes sense to trade. I don't think it makes sense to trade Nick. I don't think it makes sense. I think if you're viewing this from a football ops perspective, um, nah. Why do we suck at these administrative matters? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know why this stuff always pops up with us. I mean, it probably pops up with with a lot of other organizations as well. So it's not just us. But yeah, we've been having quite the off season. Last couple off seasons. Um for sure. I agree, Justin. Like that's the thing. It's like we do ranges of outcomes on this show, which means we don't lock in to one thought process. Do we have an opinion that we tend to lock into? Of course. But we also go through the entire ranges of outcomes and options. And that unfortunately puts us in a situation where we have to discuss the options for the 49ers. And as we discussed yesterday, you best believe the 49ers are getting calls. Oh, yeah, they're getting calls. And who knows? Maybe they're getting offers. Like again, I talked about it yesterday. It was like there's sharks in the water. They smell the blood in the water. And so does that mean that we have teams who understand how good Bosa is, and if they truly believe that it might not get done, they start slinging trade offers, taking their shot? Maybe. Probably. Does that affect the leverage of the deal? I would imagine it has an impact. But again, if he gets paid, because I imagine he will, I don't know. Once he gets paid, we're done talking about it. We're on to Pittsburgh. I'm never going to talk about this again. Never. I tried as hard as possible to not talk about the quarterbacks all summer before training camp. Now, obviously, we did talk about them. We did film breakdowns and stuff like that, but we really tried to spread the topics around and not focus fully on quarterbacks. But unfortunately, every day is a new day with this contract situation. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I want to get him paid. And I want to focus on week one. But that's me being selfish. That's me being a selfish 49er fan of not wanting distractions. Not wanting to talk about the off-field stuff more than the on-field stuff. But that's where we are. So that's our reality. So hopefully we can get this figured out. Hopefully we get it done. Again, I still got some hope. We're definitely the sirens though. Woo woo woo. They're off. Oh, they're going. They're going. Woo woo woo. You can still turn them off though. That's the thing. Yeah, who's going to send a $97 super chat? Who's going to do that? Because if you do that, you'll be a SDS legend for life. You send the $97 super chat. Let's see. I saw a question that was a non-Bosa question. I'd be more than happy to answer it. Oh, here we go from Joel. Joel says, will Kittle play, Gibson playing, Moody, or Wright? Big week for Kittle. Big week for Kittle. I hope so. He was working off to the side on Monday, but like I said, just because maybe Kittle doesn't practice today doesn't mean he's fully in doubt. I need one practice from Kittle. I need one practice from Hufanga. I need one practice from Moody. That's it. One practice. One practice will be able to get you ready to go. That will determine if these guys are going to play or not. Obviously, the sooner we find out that they can potentially do that, the better, right? So that's what we want. We want Kittle at minimum participating in some capacity. We don't necessarily want him off to the side. We want him back. Gibson, I would imagine he's going to play. I mean, he really did not participate a lot in training camp or in preseason. And then Moody, I do think Moody will be our kicker. I do think that to be true. I think Moody's going to kick for us week 1. So that's how I see. That's how I see it. Oh yeah, we're talking practice. Practice. Yeah, we're talking practice. Ian, we should be talking practice here pretty soon. I would imagine we're going to start getting some practice updates. You think we see more Mason? He's one of the guys that's dinged up. So yeah, we want to see if Mason's going to be available. That's a guy that we're going to be looking for. What his participation's looking like in practice. Want to get him out on the field. But as we do know, Elijah Mitchell is back, so that's good. So we got Elijah Mitchell back in the saddle. I like that. And we're going to need everyone. All hands on deck. All hands on deck. So we'll see. We'll see what we get. Um, What are your guys' predictions? Let's put a wrap on Nick Bosa. Let's put a wrap on Nick Bosa talk. Obviously, we're gonna do state of the franchise at 1:45 Pacific Standard Time with Aponte. So I'm gonna ask Aponte about his thoughts on this situation. We're also gonna do the best ball draft as well. But what is your guys' prediction? Is Nick Bosa going to play this Sunday or is he out? Obviously, if he plays this Sunday, that means he's getting paid. But is he playing? Yes or no? We're going to see Nick Bosa in uniform. Are we going to be able to celebrate? Are we going to be able to rejoice? What is the word? So far, a lot of no's. A lot of no goes for Nick Bosa. It's kind of what it feels like. I think for our mental health, it would probably be ideal to rationalize he's probably not going to play, right? Because that's where it feels like we're at. He's probably not going to play. But man, if he's not going to play, do we got to be talking trade more? Because it feels like if he's not going to play, that feels like a real breakdown in negotiations. A real breakdown in negotiations. I like this one too. Smash that like button if you want Bosa to play. I want Bosa to play for sure. So We'll see, man. We'll see. We'll see. I am, though, ready to not talk about this anymore. So I hope we get it done. Because can you imagine? Can you imagine the Can you imagine the level of discourse that we're gonna have if Nick Bosa doesn't play week 1 and they start leaking trade rumors? Woo! Man, can you imagine? I can. I agree, Alec. This has been one of the worst off seasons imaginable, and we've had some bad off seasons. Like the 49ers are not new to having bad off seasons. Like this is becoming the norm. The norm for the 49ers is having repeatedly embarrassing off seasons is really what it's coming down to. It's our vibe now. It's who we are. You know, I've accepted it. We just have bad off seasons with crazy the craziest things that you could think of. That's just who we are at this point. And that's the crazy thing. It's not even it's not even the off season anymore. It's not even the off season anymore, but we're still dealing with off season things. That is the perfect way to talk about it, man. We are we are not even the off season yet. We are in peak off season energy right now. Peak off season. Oh, it's so fun, man. So good. It's a great time. Fantastic. Very, very stressful. Yeah, I mean, some people are stressed, some people aren't. Uh, I'm tired. I need a nap. I need a mental cleanse from the 49ers, which I can't do until Nick Bosa gets paid and we can move on with our lives. But hey, that's what it is. It's fine. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's just football, right? It's just football. It's just sports. I think that's important to rationalize at the end of the day, right? Oh, bro, I saw some like I was cruising on Instagram and I saw a mac musubi. So it's mac and cheese spam musubi. Oh my gosh, dude. It looked so good. And you just reminded me of that. It looks so fire, bro. Spam musubi. If you've never had it, 10 out of 10 recommend. It's a Polynesian treat. If you have not had it before, uh, it's it's quite fire. But again, I saw the mac and cheese musubi, and I was like, "Whew." I was like, okay. It's like now we're talking. Am I saying it correctly? I don't know. Probably not. Um, I mean, I've lived with Paulie's multiple times, so I think I'm saying it correct. Musubi, all that type of stuff. I don't know. I don't know if my island boy can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm misrepresenting the culture. Masubi. There you go. Hey, I pronounce everything wrong though, so that's pretty normal. It's pretty normal for me. Masobi. Musobi. Either way, it's fire. It's delicious. Now I want barbecue mixed plate. That's what I want now. Now I'm hungry. Mosubi. There we go. I want a barbecue mixed plate. Bro, chicken, give me some chicken katsu. Whoo! Fire. Delicious. I'm hungry now. Bro, if you've ever been to a Polynesian cookout, oh boy. I don't know. I don't know. They get down. And I'm talking about like pig roast. Like they do the whole pig, bro. They get down. Like, I mean, anything you could think of, man. Anything, any type of meat. Like you're just like Polys know how to get down, man. Shout out to my Poly brothers. I've lived with a lot of Polynesians. I was an adopted Polynesian when I played football. Lived with all the Tongans and the Samoans. So I know a thing or two. So shout out to all my Tokos and my Usos out there holding it down. Vibes off the chart. Hey, I'm down. Let's go. Bring me through to the carne asada. Bring me through. Let's go. I'm down. Sign me up. I haven't been to the carne asada cookouts yet, but I heard they be bussin'. So, hey man, you say cookout, come through. Yep, I'm there. You got a plate for me? I'm there. But shout out to you guys, man. Hopefully we get this thing figured out. Bosa watch is going to continue. Bosa watch is going to continue. Again, I'm holding out a little bit of hope that we get this thing done with. We get this thing figured out. I don't want to be stressing. None of us want to be stressing over this. We want to be putting our best foot forward. We want to focus on this year. We'll take next year as it comes. So, hey, man, at the end of the day, it's Niner gang, and we want to get our players taken care of. Like that's part of it, right? We want to get our players taken care of. Nick Bosa has been a phenomenal representative of the San Francisco 49ers. He's given us anything we could have asked for from a player at his position, right? And that's what he's deserving, right? So let's get him paid. Let's get it done. Like I said, I'm going to be doing another show with Aponte. State of the franchise, 1:45 Pacific Standard Time. We're also doing our best ball league. We're going to be doing a live best ball draft, so you guys will have an opportunity to hop in and be a part of that. And then we're going to do the best ball draft live. I know Aponte tweeted about it. Wouldn't be surprised if it's filled already. I got to check with them. But so we'll be coming on. We'll get some spicy Aponte takes potentially. We'll see. We'll see. But we'll come back on. Hopefully, try to talk about other things than just Nick Bosa. So we'll get after it. Appreciate you guys checking in. Again, I know this topic kind of sucks because everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's got a thought. Some people are trade Nick Bosa. Someone are like, pay Nick Bosa. Some people are like, I'm tired of talking about this. Stop talking about this. So again, always appreciate everyone's patience. Allowing us to work through these situations. Again, I don't think it's anything that any of us want to talk about. To be perfectly honest, we want to talk about him paid and ready for Pittsburgh, but it is our reality at the moment. So we got to talk about it and we got to react to it. And hopefully one day this is in our rear view and we don't got to do it anymore. Imagine we're going to get some updates from 49ers practice here pretty soon. And if we get those before the show, we'll talk about them on the show. Obviously, we're looking for Kittle and guys like that. So that's what we're looking for. So appreciate everyone in the chat, as always, for contributing to the conversation. Shout out to all my Sourdough squad. Appreciate you guys always maintaining the vibes. And hey, if you're not subbed to the channel, why aren't you subbed to the channel, man? We're dropping content all the time. So you already know what it is. Once those Bosa updates drop, good, bad, or indifferent, we're posting about it. We're on top of it. So smash that like button on the way out. Appreciate all the kind words in the chat. And we'll be back for another live Spicy Aponte coming through. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.